Coming up, it's the most expensive iPhone ever, an elegant smartwatch from Huawei, and come on, baby, light my fire.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Before You Buy is brought to you by Ting.com. Ting is a mobile phone service that helps you save money by offering a fair price for the services you use. Visit beforeyoubuy.ting.com to get $25 towards your first device or service and to find out how much you can save. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With a built-in HD camera and microphone, you can monitor your front door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like being home even when you're not. Right now, get $10 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/beforeyoubuy. Hello and welcome to Before You Buy. It's Twit's product review show where we take the latest and greatest gadgets and gizmos and we give it out to, well, these people. These are the people behind Twit TV, the ones who give us the most honest reviews possible. And as promised, we've got ourselves a big old box of Amazon Fires. This is not actually all that we've got. We ordered 18 of them. 12 have arrived. So these are the select few who will be doing our live unboxing. Now, I don't really have the list, so I'm just going to say, you get a tablet, and you get a tablet. Everybody gets a tablet. Grab a tablet, and let's start ripping these things open because this is kind of, whoa. I think the big story was the fact that you could get a 6-pack of these things. They're $50 Amazon Fire tablets, and for that price, we even have some of the iOS faithful here who decided to pick one up. I kind of cheated, and I started mine up last night so that I could give you a really quick overview, a really quick review of what we've got here. But I will say this: all of you people are going to have to do a 30-minute setup. This is one of the things that we've come to expect from some of the new devices, because the first time it connects, it's got to download some updates, and then download more updates, and then download a couple more updates. But once you're done, you'll be into the Amazon Kindle/Fire operating system. One other thing, I'm not sure if you did this, Debbie, but I had to make sure to order these without my account embedded into them, because otherwise people will be ordering things on your Amazon account. Are we cool like that? Yeah. Yeah. A few things. Let's kick this off the right way. So we've got a 7-inch screen here, which is quite nice. It's an IPS screen. Unfortunately, as many people have pointed out, it's not super high def. You're not going to get 1080p. In fact, you're not even going to get 720p. This is a 1024 by 600 IPS screen. But because it is IPS, it means that it's going to be viewable from many different angles. It's got a quad-core processor in here, 1.3 gigahertz, along with 8 gigabytes of internal memory. But there is an SD card slot, so if you want to put in a micro SD card, it will accept up to 128 gigabytes. Now, folks, have you all started up? Yeah, we're starting up. Okay, what I'm going to suggest is that everyone head over to the news desk, because we're going to cut over to you as we go through Before You Buy, just to see how long it takes for everyone to get into their first click. Yeah, everyone's got the fire going on. I will give you a complete impression. Before we end this show, I'm going to show you what my first 12 hours with this tablet looked like. And I have to say, it wasn't what I expected. I expected one thing for a $50 tablet, and the Amazon Fire tablet gave me quite a bit more. So while we get everyone started up in their unboxed effect, let's go ahead and kick off with the first review. We went ahead and we decided that since we're covering the Amazon tablet, we should probably give a lot of love to the iPhone, the brand new iPhone, the most expensive iPhone ever. We talked to our very own Leo Laporte, and well, this is what he thought.
You know what, Father Robert? Mea culpa. I have to admit it. For the last few years, I've used an Android phone and sung Android's praises. I said Android had better features. It was more powerful. There were things I could do with an Android phone I just couldn't do with an iPhone. And then, sigh, I got the new iPhone 6s Plus. Yes, it's pink, Not that there's anything wrong with that. Actually, I really like this pink. You ought to look at it in the store. It doesn't do it justice to see it on camera or to see the stills that Apple put out, which really do look pink. It's a more shimmery, kind of coppery gold. I really like it. And man, I know Apple says this every year, but it's really true. This is the best iPhone ever. Just gorgeous. First of all, very thin, very light. As I said, this is the Plus version, 5.7 inches, 1080p screen. Sure, I've had higher resolution, more DPI on Android, but one thing this phone gives you that Android just doesn't seem to be able to, all-day battery life. I've been using this thing like crazy. In fact, I unplugged it at 6 a.m. I'm still at 77%. Since I got this phone on Friday, almost a week ago, I haven't gone to bed with less than 40% left on the phone. I like that margin. It means that I can use the phone, go to dinner, go to a show, take a walk, and not have to worry about charging it. Now, the Android phones solve that problem with fast charging. Apple hasn't quite figured that out. In fact, this is a pretty slow to charge device, so you really are going to want to get to the end of the day before you plug it in. It takes a few hours, but before you wake up, you'll have a fully charged iPhone. Some of the new features of the iPhone really mean it's more than just kind of the S version. Apple said the only thing that's changed is everything. At first, I mocked that, but as I use it, I'm really impressed. Siri's much improved. You could talk to her directly. Hey, Siri. She'll even say yes, by the way, which is kind of cool. She'll read you Wikipedia articles, which she never did before. You do train Siri to use your voice, which means that she's much less likely to wake up by accident. That is a big boon. Did I wake up your Siri when I was shouting, hey, Siri? Oh, all right. I'm sorry about that if I did. There's other new features that I really like. The 3D touch. I was very skeptical. I've used Force Touch on the watch and on some of the MacBooks, and I found it difficult to understand what it was going to do, hard to predict what the results would be. I turn it off because it just gets in the way. You won't want to turn it off on the new iPhone 6S. Let me show you. Of course, with Apple's apps, it's always going to work. And in fact, the way you do it is if you just tap something, it'll open the app. If you press it a little longer, it'll make them jiggle, jiggle, jiggle so you can delete it. But if you press it hard, and it takes a little while, but you do get some haptic feedback, a little buzz on the screen. You'll get a pop-up menu, kind of like a right-click context-sensitive menu that gives you up to 4 of the most used commands. So this is the camera, and it says take a photo, record a slow-mo, record video, or take a selfie. And as a power user, you gotta love that. It immediately goes into selfie mode. Speaking of which, selfies, they now flash the screen to give selfies their own light, and it really has improved the quality of the selfies. There are third-party apps that support this 3D touch. Look, here's Instagram. 3D Force Touch it or pop it, and you get new post, view activity, search, and direct. I think that's a great feature. I hope more companies will support this in their icons. Let me turn the screen brightness down a little bit so you can see it better. It's just a great feature. It's a little frustrating, though, when you tap something and nothing happens, and that's one of the reasons I hope that companies will start supporting this 3D touch. It's great. Another thing you can do with 3D touch that's brand new and it requires one of the new iPhones is you force touch and swipe in from the left. Look at that. Here's other apps that are running in the background. You can go directly to the previous app by just swiping all the way, or swipe halfway and you'll get the new iOS 9 context switcher. These are all apps running in the background or recently used apps. That's a very nice feature. Again, this is an iPhone for a power user. And I have to say, I really, really like the new features. Gotta love the live photos as well in the camera. The trick with the camera is to take pictures and be aware of the live photos. You could turn it off. Here's one of my my little dog, Ozzy. You can turn off the live photos if you want, and you might want to, because what happens is the picture is being recorded 1.5 seconds before you actually shoot the shot, and then for 1.5 seconds afterwards. That means I got a lot of pictures of me putting the phone down. But if you remember that it's on, here's what I think is a great picture of Ozzy with his head out the window. But then when I 3D touch it, it comes alive with video and audio. Right now, it only works on iOS devices with this new 3D touch capability. Messages works that way. Facebook says their iOS app will also do that. If more and more social sites adopt this, I think this is a great feature, especially if you have kids or small animals. It really brings it to life. A+ Apple. They've done it beautifully. We've seen this feature before on Nokia and HTC, but as usual, Apple just got it right. They made it really sweet. All in all, I have to say, this is easily the best iPhone I've ever used. The real question is who should buy it? Certainly, if you're an iPhone user, you're going to be interested in it. And if you have an iPhone that's more than 2 years old, you're absolutely going to want to buy it if you can afford it. These are still pretty expensive phones, but Apple's made it easier with their monthly purchase plan. The question really is, if you have an iPhone 6, only a year old, should you upgrade to the iPhone 6S? In my opinion, you should. There's enough new stuff here to make it a completely different and much better experience. And by the way, rose gold. It ain't bad. Pros and cons. Faster than ever before. It's about twice as fast, and it really feels it. Partly that's because they doubled the RAM. Partly it's because it's got a new A9 chip in it. The pictures are gorgeous. Yes, those 12 megapixels show up in every shot you take, in low light, in bright light. It's still not a DSLR or even a point and shoot, but it's probably the best camera phone I've ever used. I love the live photos too. That's a great way to bring a photo to life. Many of the 3D touch features add power, make it easier for somebody who knows what they're doing to use it faster. And I think people will discover it and embrace it. It's not just for power users. Once you learn how to use it, you're going to probably use it all the time. On the negative side, it is a really expensive phone. This is the most expensive one you can get, the 6S Plus, the big screen, with 128 gigs of storage, almost $1,000. It takes your breath away. You can save by doing the monthly plan or getting a smaller phone and less storage. Probably 64 gigs is enough for anybody. Stay away from the 16 gig model. That's just not enough. So 64 gigs, rose gold. I gotta say, this is a buy. I'm Leo Laporte. Back to you, Father Robert.
The new iPhone, all that's changed is everything. That's from Leo Laporte. Now, $1,000 may sound like a lot for an iPhone, but as he said, there are enough advancements, both in the technology behind the phone and in the design that you see to warrant you to grab up the latest and greatest. Of course, you can find Leo Laporte all across the Twit TV network. He is the Twit TV network, and we really do trust what he tells us about the gear that we need to get ourselves. Now, speaking of the gear that we need to get ourselves, and speaking of phones, I know there are a lot of you out there who would like the latest and greatest. You would like to get yourself a mobile companion, something that will always travel with you, but you're not so big on the prices that you have to pay from our mainstream carriers. The truth is that our carriers are still stuck in a pricing module that is from the dark ages of cell phones, back when we were locked into a plan for 2 years, or when we absolutely had to have a phone, a particular phone from a particular carrier. Well, that's not how it works anymore. Now we live in an a la carte world. Now we live in a world where you can expect to bring the phone you like to the plan you like, to the carrier you want, to the service that you need, which is why we're happy to have Ting as a sponsor of this episode of Before You Buy. Now, what is Ting? Ting is a U.S. mobile phone service on two nationwide networks. That's T-Mobile GSM and Sprint CDMA. It's a phone service that doesn't believe in contracts, overage fees, or unlimited plans. You get coverage on those two national networks. In other words, anywhere that Sprint is going to work, Ting will work. Anywhere that T-Mobile works, Ting will work. You also get superior pricing. With an average monthly bill of just $23 per device, Ting is helping people save a lot of money on their monthly cell phone bills. With Ting, how you use your phone determines what you pay, not what arbitrary package with an arbitrary price that you selected at the beginning of the month. Now, there are no overage charges or penalties. Ting has no contracts, and you only pay for what you use. How novel of an idea is that? Stuck in a contract? Well, Ting will give you credit if you're paying ETF. That's an early termination fee to come to Ting. They offer you 25% credit of your ETF, up to $75 per device, for coming to Ting. Go to ting.com/ETF for more information. Now, 80% of devices can use Ting because, again, it works with T-Mobile and Sprint. Use their device checker at ting.com/BYOD to see if your device can make the move. There's no risk here. You don't have to cancel your service, come over to Ting and find out that you have to buy a new phone. Go ahead and check it out and just keep it in the back of your mind as an option in case you ever get fed up with paying your mainstream bill. Ting also has a powerful online account control panel. You get to take control of your account. You get to see your usage and your bills in a powerful online panel, one pane of glass that lets you see what your usage looks like, so you can adjust up and down as you need to. Now, if you're looking to upgrade, there's no problem with that. Ting has plenty of options for you in their online shop. Once you have the device you want to use with Ting, they'll walk you through getting started, including bringing over your existing number or getting a new one. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to start saving now. Go ahead and try Ting and see what it can do for your monthly bill. Save money and better manage your cell usage with Ting. Viewers of Before You Buy can save $25 off select devices and mobile phone service just for getting started. That's beforeyoubuy.ting.com. Again, beforeyoubuy.ting.com. And we thank Ting for their support of Before You Buy. Next up, we know that one of the trends has been wearables, but do you have to get something from Apple or something from Google or something from Motorola? Or might there be another vendor out there who wants to give you a high-quality smartwatch that does something different? That's why we had our very own Jason Howell take a look at a watch from Huawei.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I got a fancy new wearable that I'm pretty excited about. It's the Huawei watch. And Huawei, this is their first kind of wearable Android Wear device. And I gotta say, it's a pretty impressive first watch to have out of the gate. They have a couple of different models of this. The stainless steel black models range in price from $349 to $499. Eventually, there will be a rose gold version for $699 with a leather band or $799 with a gold link band. I don't know. The jury's still out on whether you want to pay almost $800 for a wearable device like this, but let's take a look at what we have here. 42 millimeter diameter with 11.3 millimeter in thickness. It's actually a little bit thicker than the Moto 360, but looking at it head on compared to the Moto 360, the watch face is a little narrower and more compact. I actually think I like this a little more than the old last year's model Moto 360. It's running a 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon 400 processor with 512 megs of RAM, 4 gigs of onboard storage if you'd like to put your music on there. 300 milliamp hour battery. They rate at 2 days of charge. I'll get to that in a second. Fast charge is in tow here, which means 80% charge in around 45 minutes. Very nice. It's capable of Wi-Fi connection. It has an always-on ambient display that you can turn on or off depending on what you want out of your battery. Bluetooth 4.1 LE is handy. If you store music on here, you can use your Bluetooth headphones to stream it directly from the watch to your headphones. Enhanced heart rate monitor underneath. There's 2 photo sensor lamps, and they say that's for better detection strength. Again, I'll get to that in a second. And should be noted that this is iOS compatible now. So you can use the Huawei watch with either Android or iOS. So first of all, taking a look at the design, it's a stainless steel design. It's very nice. I think it's pretty striking. And for my wrist, it actually works very well. I'm not sure that this would work super well for a smaller wrist or maybe even women's wrist necessarily, but it works for me. It has a nice quality, genuine leather band. And as you can see, compared to the Moto 360, the leather band is definitely a step up and will probably wear a lot nicer than it does on the old school Moto 360. It comes with a charging puck, which might look familiar if you've seen the charging puck for the Apple Watch. It's a little bit larger than that. It is magnetic, but it's not wireless. You can see the contacts here. It basically means that when you set the watch on the charging puck, the magnet is going to snap it on regardless of if you have those contacts connected or not. So be careful, because you could set it on the charger, wake up the next morning and realize those contacts weren't set and your watch is out of battery. That was definitely one of the issues I had with that. But I'd say it's a pretty impressive design. Android Police actually took it apart and found a speaker underneath, which is interesting because Android Wear does not support a speaker yet. So we don't know if this is a glimpse into the future of Android Wear support or whether Huawei was just kind of being ambitious. Remains to be seen. And another look at the band here, it's pretty important to note that you can use any standard watch band in here. This band in particular is really easy to remove. It just has this little trigger mechanism that you can pop it out without much trouble at all. The display itself is a 1.4-inch AMOLED display, 268 pixels per inch with 400 by 400 resolution. It is sharp. It's the sharpest Android Wear display I've seen to date. And the glass is actually sapphire crystal. So in theory, that means it's pretty darn durable. It's not going to pick up as many of those micro scratches over time. Important for a wearable. Best screen density I've seen on a Wear device, and it really pops. The colors just are bright and shiny, and it looks pretty good out in bright sunlight. Although one thing that you don't get here is an ambient light sensor, which is kind of a bummer. On the Moto 360, that's the reason for the flat tire. They could pack that in so when you go outside and it's really bright, the watch would automatically ramp up display. Here with the Huawei watch, you have to set it and it stays there, and there's no ambient light sensor to kind of dynamically do that for you. Not the end of the world, but it is kind of the trade-off for not having that flat tire down there. As for battery, man, this was, I thought that the battery life was actually pretty great. I had a couple of days where I left it always on with that ambient display mode always on, and I had it off the charger 14, 15 hours, constantly syncing to my phone, and the worst it ever got was 33% remaining at the end of the day. I'd say that's pretty darn good to have that remaining at the end of a really busy day. A few days I turned off the ambient screen and went for the same amount of time, and at the end of the day I had around like 75%. So that's pretty impressive. If you're okay with keeping the display off throughout the day, you could pretty much get close to the 2 days that Huawei is stating as far as battery life is concerned. As for performance, I mean, everything's snappy, everything's smooth here. I didn't really have any Bluetooth connectivity issues that I've had with other watches. The heart rate monitor isn't something that I use all the time, but I have noticed with other watches that you have to like cinch up the band really tight or move around the watch to get a good reading. And they say this is improved. Huawei says that this is an improved method of doing that. I never once had to cinch up the strap. It always took the reading and it was accurate with it. So I'd say in my limited testing with it, it was actually pretty accurate and pretty great. And a very nice watch face selection. There's 40 watch faces included with the Huawei watch right out of the package. And by the way, speaking of the package, take a look at the shipment that I got when I received it. Pretty impressive. They are touting right out of the box a very nice kind of elegant delivery of this watch. They really want you to perceive it as being an elegant device. It says inside, timeless design, smart within. And it was a good unboxing experience. So it really kind of sets the tone for the quality level that Huawei is offering here. So let's take a look at the pros of the Huawei watch. Obviously, its display is bright, sharp. It's the best that you're going to find in Android Wear right now. Its design is top quality. I think it goes toe to toe with a lot of just stylish luxury watches that you're going to find. It looks really good. It's going to look good if I ever wear a suit and tie. We'll see if that happens. The battery life was excellent, and it's durable. It can take a beating. That sapphire crystal display is really going to help for its longevity. As for the cons, its price. I mean, it's not inexpensive. It starts at $350, which is priced pretty expensive for Android Wear. Anything more than $350, $399, man, you're really getting into that territory of I'm not sure if it's worth it, but if you have the extra money, I suppose it is. The size is not perfect for all, of course. This is a common problem with Android Wear devices right now. And the charger. The charger's okay. It's just kind of annoying because you won't know if you haven't lined up those charging pins. But overall, I'd say if you have the money to drop and you want to get a nice, stylish looking watch and it's going to look good on your wrist, I'd give the Huawei watch a buy if that wasn't obvious at this point. My name is Jason Howell. You can catch my reviews on All About Android and all across the Twit network. Thank you for watching.
It's a buy for the Huawei watch from Jason Howell. A little bit of elegance from an unexpected source. If you're looking for an Android watch, something that doesn't have a flat tire, something that's incredibly flexible, and something that, just has that little extra something, maybe that's the smartwatch from you. Of course, we want to thank Jason Howell. You can find him on the Twit TV network. He hosts All About Android every Tuesday and the Android App Arena, as well as being one of the best technical directors that we have here at the TWiT TV network. Now let's go ahead and take a moment to check in on our Android Fire people, our Amazon Fire people. We've been running a race, and as you can see, one person, I believe that's Karsten, has his tablet up and running. Everyone else is still in this download state. If you've ever gotten a new device, a gaming console or a Fire tablet, you know this well. The first time you start up, it's going to take you between 10 to 30 minutes for you to get all the system updates and all the software updates. But once you start running, well, it's a different experience entirely. Could we go over to the wide shot of these are our test monkeys. Gentlemen, you only have, what, 7 tablets there? What happened to the rest of them?
Victor stole them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So we've already had a heist here at the TWiT Brickhouse, folks. Stay tabbed to see how the Fire race ends up. Now, next up, let's go ahead and go back into phones because we wanted to take a look at the HTC Desire 626. Now Jason has already reviewed a phone accessory, and Leo already reviewed the iPhone, so it was only fitting that we give it to our very own Miriam Jouar to take a look. Again, the HTC Desire 626.
Hello and welcome to Before You Buy. This is Miriam Jouar, and here in my hand is the HTC Desire 626. There is 2 of them here. There is the AT&T one here in my hand, and here in red and gray is the T-Mobile version. And the reason I have both is because it's nice and fun to have different colors, but they're slightly different. So it's actually an interesting comparison. So this is a kind of a budget-ish phone, less than $200 price point. But like the other 2 recent phones I reviewed, there was less than $200. There's always some kind of compromise made. So I'll get to that in a minute, but let's walk you through the phone a little bit and talk to you a little about what it does, how it performs, etc. So as you can see, this is a 720p 5-inch display, and it's actually a really nice display for a budget phone. Pretty decent viewing angles. It's IPS panel. Looks really sharp, looks really clean, a good contrast ratio. Pretty much what, a bit of a surprise for a price point of less than $200. But very much this design aesthetic, this Oreo design with the blue in the middle and the white on each side. I really love it. I think it's really great. As you can see here, there's the flap with the micro SD first down here and the nano SIM up here. You can pull this little tray and get to the SIM card. It's easy to get to. You don't need any tools, and it's hot swappable, which is really cool. On the other side here, you have the power lock key and the volume rocker, as you can see there. On top, of course, you have the headphone jack and a secondary microphone that's hidden somewhere in there. And then on the bottom here, you have the micro USB charge and data port and the primary mic. The dual speaker is a bit of a cheat because only the bottom speaker is available for calls, and then of course the top is the earpiece for you to put to your ear. Nice little chrome rim around the 2-megapixel front-facing camera. So again, very nice design. The only branding here, other than the HTC logo at the bottom, is the AT&T logo here at the bottom of the back. So this is a pretty mildly branded phone. You can see here there's an 8-megapixel autofocus camera with an LED flash, and here's that secondary microphone I was mentioning. Beautiful HTC logo is actually embossed, which is really great. So what does this all mean? Well, it's a pretty well-rounded package for less than $200, and that's exciting. It's well-made, it feels really nice in the hand. I've always liked the Desire line, but there is, as I said, there's always a compromise to be made. The other phones I looked at, either there was a display or the camera, lack of autofocus on that LG, for example. But on this phone, everything appears pretty good at first glance. But then you discover one thing, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's that the processor is only a Snapdragon 210. And now you have to understand, this Moto Watch that I'm wearing has a better processor than this phone. So this the bare bones Snapdragon quad-core processor. And you can tell, for example, taking a photo is a bit slower than most phones. Playing games can get a bit of a tricky situation. If you play a lot of games, you might want to consider this. You probably don't want this phone. There's a bit of lagginess when you start apps. Let me show you, for example, here. I'm going to start Chrome for you. It's not running in the background. And as you can see, I pretty much tapped twice before it appeared. So it's interesting that you really notice this when you're used to maybe a mid-range phone like a Moto G or a higher-end phone. But otherwise, you probably won't. So if you can live with these issues, this is the compromise that HTC made. They put a budget processor in, I guess, a budget phone, but they didn't compromise on the display. They didn't compromise on the camera. They didn't compromise on everything else. So here are some interesting things. I told you the two phones. Let me show you the other one here real quick. This one has a shiny back. It's kind of a gunmetal gray with an Oreo red in the middle and gunmetal gray in the front. This is T-Mobile's version, and AT&T's is this other one. They are slightly different. The T-Mobile version has 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty interesting. This only has 1 gig of RAM. And I'm not quite sure why that is, but then there's another really weird difference. The AT&T version has NFC, but the T-Mobile version does not have NFC. So it seems weird to me that HTC would make these slight different versions of these two phones that look cosmetically and in every way feel pretty much the same. Slightly different for each of these carriers. I mean, in the past, we were used to carriers customizing phones from manufacturers all the time, but now it's kind of a rare thing. So technically, this is actually called the Desire 626S. There's a 626 version for the rest of the world that has a better processor, go figure. But this is what we get here in the US. So you can get this from T-Mobile or AT&T for less than $200. I think it's the $179 range. As I said, everything about these phones is pretty awesome. I really enjoyed using them, except for perhaps the performance in terms of processing speed. I mentioned earlier that there is a micro SD card slot. You only get 8 gigs of built-in storage, so you're really going to need a micro SD card. So budget that in. Just like a 16 or 32 gig card should be plenty enough to get you started. With what's on board, you can put maybe a couple of albums and take a few photos before you start running out of space. But it's not going to be a deal breaker to not get that card right away, but consider that you'll need that card at some point. So that's it. The Desire 626 on T-Mobile and on AT&T. So should you buy it? That's what you came for, right? Well, let me tell you that I think it is a buy. And so I'm going to go through the pros and cons so that you have an idea why. Pros, you're getting a phone for less than $200. That's really cosmetically, aesthetically very, very pleasing, very well made, feels really great in the hand. Second, no compromise on the camera and screen for this price point. I just want to make it very clear. I mean, this camera it's okay, but it's not, it's not going to be, like an amazing experience. Here's a quick shot of our friend Ron in the middle of taping or rather live streaming the All About Android show. Low light shot. I had to be super steady for this. It tends to blur these low light shots, but you can clearly recognize Ron after I zoom into this picture, as you can see. So it's not too bad. Here's a cool little HDR shot of our street here in front of Twit, Keller Street. And you can see the cute little rainbow mural. It's a little bit on the blue side in terms of white balance, but these are things you can fix with a photo editor. So great camera, great display, great overall design, feels really nice in the hand, does not feel like a $200 phone when you first touch it. However, it's when you start using it and you notice that this processor is really a bit sluggish when it comes to starting apps, playing games. Even the camera is a little slow in terms of shot-to-shot performance. And so that's where the compromise exists, and that's why it's a bit of a con. The other thing is on the T-Mobile version, no NFC. If you want to do Android Pay mobile payment, you won't be able to do it with the T-Mobile version. So consider these two things. So overall, as I said, it's a buy. I would consider this phone if you're on a budget and you're using AT&T or T-Mobile. I hope this was helpful. This was the HTC Desire 626 review here on Before You Buy.
There you have it. If you are looking for a budget phone, you might want to check out the HTC Desire 626. It gets a buy from Miriam Jouar. Of course, you can find Miriam here on the Twit TV network. She's often found on Before You Buy and All About Android. Also, check her out at Tank Girl. That's T-A-N-K, well, actually, remove all the vowels. T-N-K-G-R-L on Twitter. We thank her for her reviews, and we'll see her again soon. Now, before we get to this, because I have had some quality time with my $50 Amazon Fire tablet, let's thank the second sponsor of this episode of Before You Buy, and it's Ring. Now, I am excited anytime I get to do an ad for Ring because they're not just an advertiser on the network. This is a company that I have entrusted with the security of my parents. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, I've installed one of these kits. I bought one of these kits before Ring was ever on the network. Now, inside a kit, you're going to find everything you need to install your Ring video doorbell. This is the Ring unit itself. This is the drill and the level and the charging cable. It's really simple to install. If you have wiring to your current doorbell, you just use this adapter plate, and this will keep your Ring video doorbell charged at all times. If you don't, it has an internal lithium-ion battery that's charged with a little micro USB port that will keep it charged for 1 year of operation. Now, the way that the Ring video doorbell works is quite simple. People push the button and it rings the bell. That sounds really simple. But what you get above and beyond that is caller ID for your home. You see, because this is connected to your Wi-Fi system, it means that it will ring your mobile device. For example, here is the Ring video doorbell that I have installed at my parents' home in Henderson, Nevada. If I click one of the motion events, it will show me what was going on at the house when it detected some motion. Now, here's someone, who is that? It looks like some sort of naked person had just come up to my parents' home and was looking in the window. They didn't ring the bell, but it did take a video, which I can download. It stores it up in the cloud, but I can put it on my device if I ever have concerns about who's showing up at my parents' home. This is one of the best ways to make sure that the house is not getting cased or that the house doesn't have uninvited guests. It's also a really, really good way for you to have peace of mind. I mean, I worry about my parents. They're getting a little bit older. Sometimes they're not as good about their personal security as I'd like them to be. Well, with the Ring video doorbell, you could just count on them to take care of that for you. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to try one of the top 10 gadgets of 2014. Help yourself stop what happens with 95% of home break-ins, which is someone comes ahead of time and scouts. This will give you that peace of mind, that peace of security, and we'll tell people your house is not open for business. Right now, you can get $10 off the normal price of the Ring video doorbell. Protect your home and have a peace of mind with Ring. Just go to ring.com/beforeyoubuy. That's ring.com/beforeyoubuy. And we thank Ring for their support of Before You Buy. Well, folks, it's time for the magic. How does the Amazon Fire tablet hold up? There's been a lot of buzz about this, mostly because you could get it for $50. A $50 tablet sounds like a joke, and that's honestly what I expected. I thought, okay, this is something that I'm going to take apart right away. I'm going to root it. I'm going to put real Android on this thing, or maybe something else. Maybe I'll use it as a control tablet, but I wasn't expecting it to be a decent device in and as it was. Now, the question is, was it? The first thing you're going to notice is that we got the tablets that have the advertising built in. This is one of the schemes that Amazon runs. You can buy a subsidized tablet, but all that means is that the screensaver, when you first start up, is going to have an ad from Amazon. If you want, you can pay an extra $15 and get rid of that. We decided it wasn't worth it because honestly, that's nothing. Now, inside the tablet, you're going to find it's kind of like Android. Not quite. There are a few things that are different. It has been skinned with Amazon's operating system. So they've got the Fire OS 5.1, which means, if you can go to the overhead here, it looks a lot like you would expect an Android tablet to look like. It's actually quite responsive. Again, this is a 7-inch 1024 by 600 screen, but it is IPS, so you get decent viewing angles. I mean, if you're looking at this, you have to get pretty far off before it starts to fade. You're also going to find that it has, even though it's using the Amazon store, it's going to have a lot of the same applications that you would want and expect from the Google store. Weight-wise, we're talking about, and let's be honest here. Let me tear this out. It's about 309 grams. So it's not super light, but it's also not super heavy. This thing is about what you expect for well, $50. Now, let's talk a little bit about the performance. One of the things that I actually like about this is that it has enough horsepower to run games that I would want to run. If you're thinking about having a tablet for your kids, this is perfect. This is something that Brian was playing during the break. This is Sonic the Hedgehog, and as you can see, I mean, it's actually not bad. I mean, wow, hold on. This is way better than I normally do. I should pay upside down on the stream all the time. But this does have, with a quad-core processor and 3 gigabytes of memory, it's a decent amount of spec for you to run things that you want to run. Where it really shines, and this part would be removed if you decided to root your tablet, is it's incredibly well integrated into the Amazon Prime ecosystem. If you use Audible, if you read Kindle books, if you listen to Amazon Music, or if you look at Amazon Prime videos, this is a fantastic device. Now, Video has had this feature for a while where you can download videos to the tablet, to your phone, to your device, and then play them back later on when you're no longer connected. Well, what you have with this is instant integration. So for example, I am not connected to any wireless network right now. I don't have, in fact, well, you can't see it, but it says my device is offline. But I have previously downloaded Stargate Universe so that if I wanted to watch this on the plane, I could go ahead and look at the 2 episodes that I've downloaded beforehand, and it has them available for me. Yes. It's only available for 48 hours, so it's not like you can download it and forever have it on your tablet. It does have to reconnect to re-authenticate every once in a while. But once it's on your tablet, it would be great for car watching. This is something that you would want to give to your kids, something that you can download all their programming, all their movies onto, all their TV shows onto, and then have it on a long trip. That in and of itself makes this a fantastic device. It makes it a fantastic unit. Now, there is only 8 gigabytes of internal storage, but it includes a micro SD card slot right on the side here. It's accessible without having to disassemble the tablet. You just open up this cover, and you can install up to 128 gigabytes of storage in the micro SD slot, which will not come out because my fingernails are not sharp enough. There we go. It's just the standard slot. The other things that you should know about this is it has front and back cameras, but they're laughable. Don't think you're going to be taking pictures with this. It's got a VGA camera that's 640 by 480, 2 megapixel rear camera, 7 hours of battery life, charges in about 6 hours from dead. It has location services, but it's location services over Wi-Fi. So there is no GPS chipset built into this. It does have Wi-Fi, but it's 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It's 802.11b, G, and N, no 5 gigahertz. There's no dual band on this. It does, every once in a while, as you can see, it kind of lags. The control input's not always as responsive, but again, it is a $50 tablet, and it does have Bluetooth. So if you've got a, you know, I should probably desmudge this. If you've got a car unit that uses Bluetooth, if you've got a headset unit that uses Bluetooth, it will work just fine with this. It is an exceptional reader if you want to use it for your Kindle devices, and beyond that, it's a solid value. Again, $50, folks. I'm going to keep coming back to that. I know I don't want to make that one of the primary reasons why you would get one of these, but for $50, this ain't a bad device. All right, let's do some pros and cons here. Let's start with the cons. The first con is the speaker. They did this weird design choice. They put the speaker on the very back, not on the bottom, not on the side, but if you put it on a flat surface, because the speaker is right here, it actually mutes it out, and it mutes it out really, really well. They probably should have angled it out a little bit so that a flat surface wouldn't completely block out any of the sound energy. One of the other cons about this is, well, it does that thing I really hate on devices where sometimes it responds very quickly to tilt, sometimes it doesn't. What ends up happening is you end up fighting the tilt mechanism, and then it does that. So yeah, they need to work a little bit on the UI. I don't think that's a hardware problem. I think it's something in software that they probably should fix, the ability to really stick the orientation when you need it. I also don't like the fact that it's 802.11 BGN, 2.4 gigahertz only, which means that if you go to a crowded area, this is going to die off. You won't be able to get any connectivity whatsoever. And still, on the con side, I'd have to say it is a very good content consumption device. It is a very good child's device. If you want something that you can give to your children, it includes something like a parental lock, so you can have the account for you and the account for your kids, so they can't buy anything else. And I absolutely love the fact that I can do offline consumption of Prime content. If you are a Prime member, this is the next logical step to have, because it means you can take advantage of your account no matter where you are. So try, buy, or don't buy. After very brief exposure, 12 hours with the Amazon Fire tablet, I'd have to give it a buy, which these folks here, well, actually they're deep into their Fire. Gentlemen, are you all up and running, or are you still uploading?
I bought a toilet.
Okay, well, folks, there you have it. Buy a Fire, buy a toilet. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this episode of Before You Buy. I want to thank everyone who makes this show possible. Of course, to our viewers, that means that Leo Laporte, and of course to Jason Howell, and of course to Miriam Jawar. Thank you very much for your reviews. We also thank the people behind the scene, like Leo Laporte and Lisa Laporte, and my super producer, Karsten Bondi, to all the Twitch staff for this particular episode, because they're the ones who bought the 18 tablets that are currently coming in, or currently in the Brick House. And of course, my absolutely fantastic, my fabulous technical director, Mr. Brian Burnett. Cranky Hippo, do you have your Fire tablet as well?
I do have my Fire tablet, but haven't been able to make any calls on it yet.
Yeah,
does it look big?
That's a con. Yeah, I should tell you that's the cell reception is not so great.
No, but yeah, I'm having fun with it already. I'm waiting to download Sonic the Hedgehog on it.
Yeah, and where can people find you on the Twit TV network?
They can find me doing Know How with You. I also TD all about Android and sometimes chime in on that show, so you can check that out. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at cranky_hippo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Folks, don't forget that we do this show live every Friday at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Just go to live.twit.tv. And as long as you're watching live, jump into our live chat room at irc.twit.tv. Thank you very much. I'm Father Robert Ballecer, the digital Jesuit. And just remember, you've got to watch before you flush.